is Google helping the U.S. spy on China? In what seems to be the latest blow to already strained relations between the U.S. and China, a state-run newspaper there published a report claiming Google cooperated with the U.S. in espionage efforts. Is it true? And if so, what will it mean for U.S.-China relations? Well, joining me now to talk about it is RT contributor and investigative journalist Wayne Madsen. So, Wayne, the conflict between Google and China seems to be escalating beyond just a Google issue. The United States has claimed that China is launching a cyber war against it, but at the same time now state-run media in China is saying that the United States is launching a cyber war against China. So what's really going on here and who's to blame?
Well, I've been talking to some people in Beijing myself, and what they're telling me is when you look at Google, you see a company with a lot of uncomfortable relationships with U.S. intelligence. We know that Google set up a cooperative agreement with the National Security Agency. We also know that users of Gmail, the Google email offering, found out that there was spyware included that would open up their computers' files to basically to be surveilled and possibly captured by the spyware program that came with Gmail. I also think it's important to note that the CIA has a venture capital firm called In-Q-Tel, which looks for up-and-coming companies to basically try to give them seed money. We know that Oracle, the big database, Oracle was once the name of a CIA relational database project, which then turned into a huge company called Oracle. And there's a thought that maybe Google was very similar, that some of its seed money came to it from In-Q-Tel, the CIA venture capital firm, which is based in the Silicon Valley. So I think that the Chinese probably have a lot of reasons to doubt whether Google is merely a benign search engine or may have some intelligence functions built in.
And what about the other way around, the United States claiming that China is launching a cyber war against it?
Well, certainly what we're seeing with intelligence agencies and military commands around the world, they're all now concentrating on cyber warfare, cyber defenses. What we're seeing is that the power politics are now moving into the realm of cyberspace. I think that spells a very, very bad future for Internet freedom. I think it's going to throw up a lot of issues of Internet censorship. And so I think the people who are probably going to suffer are the users of the Internet in China and possibly the users of the Internet here in the United States, because there's some thought that Google may be actually censoring certain websites here in this country as well. Anything having to do with 9/11, for example, the 9/11 truth movement, other issues. In some cases, people say, hey, my website, my offerings on the web don't even show up when I do a Google search.
And you know, Sergey Brin, one of Google's co-founders, recently said that he wants Washington, the Obama administration, to take a tougher stance on China. Is that likely to happen? Can Google pressure Washington, especially when tensions between Washington and Beijing are already so strained? I
think that's already happening, because sources of mine in Beijing are pointing to Larry Summers, the former Treasury Secretary who's now an economic advisor to President Obama. He's known as a free trader, but now there's a thought that the Obama administration is adopting an industrial policy, which is targeting not only China, but as we saw with Toyota and Honda, the Japanese automotive industry as well, and their exports to this country. I would note that there's also pressure on China to appreciate the value of the renminbi, the Chinese currency. That's causing a lot of problems between Washington and Beijing. And now there's a big issue when Google moved its operations to Hong Kong. Apparently they did not even consult with the Hong Kong government. That puts Hong Kong in a very tenuous position, because China has allowed a great deal of autonomy in Hong Kong. But if there's a thought that Hong Kong will become a base for Google's activities, that could bring a lot of undue pressure on Hong Kong.
And there are indications that other American firms might follow suit. GoDaddy, the Dell Corporation, might follow suit with what Google did and pull out of China. Do you think that's likely to happen, and what would that mean for China?
Well, I think if we're looking at a national economic policy and industrial policy now being pushed by the United States, it's quite clear that the U.S. government may be urging these companies to pull out of China. And I think that means a possible trade war. China holds a lot of our debt. I don't know what that's going to spell for the future, but I think if we're looking at a trade war between one of America's largest trading partners and the holder of much of our debt, that could spell a big problem for the U.S. economy in the long run. So free traders like Larry Summers could be bringing about sort of an apocalyptic situation with the economy of this country.
Well, Wayne Madsen, thank you so much for joining me. Google possibly furthering the tensions between China and the United States.